Guys, I just recorded a whole video and then it didn't have sound. But today we are learning the top 10 mistakes that photographers make. How ironic. It's just funny how that happens. What's up, guys? So today I am going to be talking all about the top mistakes that photographers are making. Whether you're an amateur or you are a professional, these are some tips and tricks to better your art and kind of like make you a better person too. This is the most important thing for a new photographer to figure out. You want to stop shooting in automatic. Your camera has so many amazing features to it, so many amazing settings to it, and this will be the #1 thing that will change your work from looking amateur to professional. This is the easiest thing to go in and fix. #2 is to style your images. If you are doing a photo shoot, whether it be one person or a family of 5, you want to make sure that their outfits look beautiful together. So this is a really easy way, even if you're just starting out, maybe you're building a portfolio, but if you style your shoots a little bit more, you will get a better outcome in the end. Even if everything else is still in the works and we're still learning, it is okay. Start with the outfits and everything will fall into place. Next up is we want to talk about editing. We want to stop with these iPhone apps and Instagram filters to your photos. We want them to be genuine and true, correctly color corrected, cropped to perfection, no sideways slanty photos being posted. And we want to make sure that there is no heavy clarity or saturation because you're trying to make your images look like something and you're doing it the wrong way. So stop with these phony gimmicks in these quick presets. We want to talk about Lightroom and Photoshop and good softwares and programs that will step your photography game up immensely. I have actually started to underexpose my images when I am shooting. Something that you don't know very often, but digital photography, you can raise up the shadows now and you can brighten them in post-production. But what you cannot do is you cannot always darken your lightest spots of your photos. So I am talking about the highlights, those bright, bright skies where the sun is fully blown out and it is so bright that when you try to lower your images, you get a funky gray, flattened feel. And this is the very first mistake that I made when I started out because I could not darken my photos enough to get the true colors back out, and my whites would turn to gray. This is so important. This is why I started shooting in RAW, so I had a little bit more range when I was playing in post-production. And this is the most important reason to why I started shooting a little bit lower, because I wanted to make sure that I had all of my depth, all of my colors, and none of that weird gray flat feeling. This is crucial, especially in boudoir photography, because you are so often playing with shadows and light that you want to make sure that once you are in post-production, you are able to play around with it. You want to make sure that every single thing that you do to that photo keeps it true and clear and crisp. You don't want any mistakes popping out that make you look like you don't know what you're doing, or like your camera was on the wrong setting and your iPhone could have figured out your ISO quicker and lighting. It's just bad. The most expensive thing you might need to change about your photography to step your game up is you might need to buy a better lens. I personally have around 4 lenses that I absolutely am in love with, and each one I use for something totally different because it gives me a very different feeling from it. I love my portrait lens, the 85mm 1.8, because it gives me such a shallow depth of field that I can photograph someone's face and I can get their lashes coming off and I don't see the background. Looking up prime lenses, things with a little bit less glass, make things a little bit sharper. You can look up great zoom lenses. The 70 to 200 is fantastic for portraits. There are so many things out there, and they are a little bit expensive, but a good lens is never cheap, and a cheap lens is never good. And if you are going to upgrade your equipment and you are going to chase this dream, you better do it right the first time. Look up reviews and figure out your click, your niche, your style. You don't want a portrait lens if you are going to be doing landscapes and vice versa. So it is important to make sure that your lens is exactly what you need it to be. So you want to shoot at the same time every single time you shoot. Yeah. You want to make sure that you are capturing that beautiful golden hour, that sunset time, because that is what is going to give you that nice, soft, diffused light. You may have heard this multiple times before, but you won't understand it until you do it. So going back just a little bit, talking about shooting with your shadows and underexposed a little bit more than shooting overexposed, and post-processing and shooting raw. This is so important, especially if you're going to get into boudoir photography or studio photography or a fine art kind of photography. You see this often in paintings, and painters use shadows to build their artwork. We are doing the same thing. We want to use shadows to shape the body instead of shooting the whole body and perfect sunlight and seeing everything. That's not what we want. We want to get those low, crisp sunlight that's peeking over the hip bones, but then you don't really see anything else after that. You want to create a little bit more drama with the eye and drama with your depth and dimension instead of just being like, oh, here's your body, here it is, right there. No, we want to play with those shadows. We want to be like, look at the little curve of your waist, and then look at the little tips of your hips, and then look at your butt over here. But everything else is very suggestive and moody and dark. So if you are doing portraits or you are doing boudoir and your work is looking very clean and tidy every single time, have a little fun with it. Go back and turn your subject completely to the side with that harsh side light and focus on shooting for the shadows. This has been the number one thing that has taken my work from amateur to professional, because I was able to make my work a little more artistic by shooting with the shadows instead of always fighting them. I always had to have the perfect light. I always had to shoot bright and sunny, and now I'm in a studio with a black wall that I get dim light in, and it is amazing. It's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So use those shadows to your advantage, play with it a little bit, have a little fun, and just do something a little different. Enjoy finding the curves of the body through that little bit of light. Okay, are you listening? Like, are you really, really listening? This one is so important. Stop shooting like Uncle Bob. We all have that person in our family who just picks up their phone, or better yet, their iPad, and holds it right out in front of your face and just taps the button. This does not, you don't want to be this. Plain and simple. You, as a photographer, your job is to find the photo that nobody else could. And I love telling myself this all the time because I love what shots come from having a little more creativity to it. So if you're taking that photo right here in head and you look at it and think, wow, I think I've seen this before, go back in and climb a tree or rummage through a bush to figure out how you can make this look so much better. I feel like I should get up and check to make sure this one has sound now. Stop shooting from the hip and crawl around or get high and get low. My personal favorite is shooting through objects. I love shooting through the plants in my studio. I have crystals and orbs and all these fun things that I photograph through just to create some depth and dimension and show part of the artwork that's going to draw your attention right back to that subject that's in there. If you are not doing this and you are not shooting through subjects, or you are not shooting through things or crawling around, you're shooting probably like Uncle Bob, and you need to stop. Have a little fun with it. Be creative. This is your art. And if you're not doing this and you're shooting just straight forward, throw a tree in the middle of your camera and peek through the leaves. I promise you it'll be your favorite photo from the day. This very last thing is the most, I keep saying everything is the most important, but this is like really, really the most important thing that I could ever say to an amateur or a professional photographer. Thinking you are the best is probably the worst and the quickest way to ruin your business. By constantly thinking you are the best, you are stopping yourself from learning new things or chasing new things that you don't even know exist yet. I personally have the artist brain where I never think I'm good enough for anything. And believe it or not, this has pushed me to be better every single day. And it is so important that this happens because we want to constantly grow. And in a digital age, if you don't grow, you are stopping right where you are and you will watch everybody else pass you on that field. You have to constantly better yourself. You have to constantly stay humble. And you might get that sick shot and pat yourself on the back, but you always need to look back at it and be like, you know what? I probably could have done this and it would have made it this much better. It is scary because oftentimes I will shoot a session and I'm like, this is the best session I've ever done in my life. And a week or two later goes by and I get so bored from looking at the images and I think to myself, how do I do this better? How do I better myself all the time? And this is a good thing, just like as a human, you should always be going back and thinking, how can I be better? And how can I grow from this experience? This is the number one thing that I see top photographers fail at because they are so stuck in their high points that they refuse to change their ways. And suddenly you have a whole new wave of people coming by that no longer like your style. And this is what makes or breaks a business, because if you are not current and up to date and driven to do something new or test new things, you will always have someone that will pass you. So if you are stuck in a rut, if you are a booming business that is slowing down, maybe it's time that you look back and think that you need to change something. Maybe you are not the best anymore, and maybe you need to take a couple classes or learn from some young child on YouTube just to have a little bit of fun. I went in at such a young age, and I started shooting weddings at the age of 18. And there were people that were in their 30s and 40s that were thriving businesses. And now, 10 years later, they are trying to get their business off the ground again, and they are pushing so hard to grow their business and keep it up, but they simply cannot because they are stuck in their old ways. And styles change and people change, and we all understand this. But if you stop for a second to think you are better than anyone else, or you get comfortable, that is when you fail. So that is why I find this as the number one thing to get out of your head. Stop thinking you're the best. Stay humble. Always learn. It is totally okay to know your worth and to charge your worth and add tax to it. But you need to make sure that you are giving a service that is always growing, always staying consistent, and that you are providing a beautiful end product, even if it's something a little different. So I'm trying to make sure that I said everything that I was going to say. And I think this video was going to be top 10 mistakes. But since I forgot to put the sound on last time and I recorded again, it might be more like 7 or 8 mistakes. So maybe I'll add one more mistake in there and say, like, check your work and make sure that what you're doing is correct before you finish it, because it is so much easier to fix things before they get bad. So use this as an example to always check the back of your camera. I don't care if you're an amateur or a professional, make sure that that back of the camera shot is beautiful, because if that couple leaves and that photo is junk, you did not take the time to fix it before then, and sometimes post-production or Photoshop cannot fix everything. So learn from my mistake today, check the back of the camera, make sure that everything is going okay, and just fix it before you get too far. So guys, that is the end of my video. Hopefully I do not have to record it again because I think I would start going insane. But if you liked it, comment, like, share, subscribe, all the things. You know the deal by now. And just stay tuned. I'm going to be posting a lot more videos soon. Hopefully I will walk you through my beautiful studio next time and tell you a little bit about where I found some things, where I shop, and how I dress this place up. Till then, I will see you next time. I'm going to bed. I'm done.